Hello and welcome to an L6M2 Learning Objective 1 question. And I've chosen to do one of the questions that seems to be the most difficult for students. So I'm hoping that you'll find this useful. It's just an essay question that we're looking at today, and it's explain 5 characteristics of strategic decisions in organizations. So this is something that's such a broad question. It can be really difficult to try and pin down to answer. But there are some topics that I want you to cover, and I do think it helps if you bring it back to an example. So we need to define strategy. Strategy is defined as the direction and scope of an organization over the long term. And that's by Johnson and Scholes. That is a definition I would make sure that you remember. And these are the 5 characteristics of strategic decisions that you should learn. They cover the scope of the organization. They are likely to influence the direction of the organization in the long term. The key bits I've put in yellow for you here. They are normally about trying to achieve some kind of competitive advantage. They attempt to match the organization's activities to meet the demands of the environment and the potential of its resources and competencies. So basically using their resources to match what the environment needs. And they're going to be influenced by stakeholder value and expectations. So these are the 5 major paragraphs that make up the bulk of your essay here. As I said, though, it's so much easier if you apply it to a real scenario. So for this video, I'm going to apply this to McDonald's. You get extra marks if you apply it to an organizational example, but also it helps you bring it to life and explain it more. So it's a win-win. Okay, so let's look at these 5 things in the concept of McDonald's. Scope of the organization. So this covers the range of activities it pursues, the geographical boundaries, its range of products and services. So McDonald's sells fast food. It is the leading fast food seller. Some may argue anyway. It's global. It is in 120 countries as of 2022. And it's made up of a franchise network, which means that people will buy a license to be able to have a McDonald's store, and McDonald's will control certain things that they do. Strategic decisions are usually long-term. So they are focused and affect the organization for over 5 to 10 years. That's what we're looking at here. And McDonald's seems to have different strategies through different 10-year periods. So McDonald's rode the baby boomer trend in the 1960s. I'll go into this a little bit more later on. In the 70s and 80s, they were all about globalization, bringing the McDonald's brand across the world. In the 90s and early 2000s, they started to look at being more healthy, at salads and calories. In recent years, McDonald's has continued to broaden its product portfolio by offering McCafes with high-quality coffee and healthy drinks as well. And they've got a large focus on sustainability and some premium burgers that they've brought out in the 2020s. And strategic decisions must be about competitive advantage, getting someone to come to you rather than go to your competitor. And that's what their strategies had. The 1960s baby boomer strategy was all about applying for the swelling ranks of teenagers who didn't have a ton of money and wanted quick food, and the rising female labor force participation as well. The 1970s and 1980s globalization trend was all about creating an identifiable brand that the Golden Arches was known throughout the world. The 1990s fast and convenient trend, the healthy trend, met the needs of professionals and even families who wanted quick food but wanted to be slightly more healthy. And the 2000s coffee strategy allowed them to compete at a cheaper price with big players like Starbucks and Costa Coffee and so on. All of this creates a competitive advantage in its own way. Part of your strategic decisions is that they match your activities and resources with the environmental or external demand. So all of the strategies we just talked about were means of meeting the dynamic environmental demands, what the market wanted. But they've also done other things to try and meet demand. Backward vertical integration allowed them to take control over their suppliers, in particular in the US with some cattle ranch farms that they took over. The franchise business models allows them to be everywhere in the world without as much of the overheads and the cost of that and still receiving profit from those franchisees. So all of this helped them to gain competitive advantage, but meet the demands of the environment with their own resources. And then finally, strategic decisions have to be influenced by stakeholder value and expectations. So McDonald's still wants to be the market leader, so it's going to be incredibly sensitive to what its customers and shareholders want. McDonald's serves 700 million customers on average per year and employ around 200,000 staff as per 2020. So they have a lot of different stakeholder expectations. And after negative publicity regarding food safety and unsustainable practice, they introduced their huge sustainability policy, which you can find on their website. Recycling and better transport links have reduced cost, but also reduced their carbon footprint. And they've reduced packaging by 45% to help recycling. And they've started advertising the origins and makeup of their products, such as when they started it must be 15 years ago, when they started talking about where their chicken nuggets were now 100% chicken breast. And I was thinking, oh, what were they before? I don't want to know. But they're starting to become more sustainable and more about transparency with their stakeholders, because that's what we now expect as consumers. So this question is one that is difficult. But at the end of the day, as long as you can remember those 5 areas and relate it back to an organization of your choice or a case study, if they give it you on a case study, then you should be able to pick out really decent marks. So please learn those 5 characteristics. Hope you found this useful. Thanks so much for listening. Catch me back soon for another constructive response video. Bye for now.